Allow me at the outset to welcome Samir Suran and Sanjay Gucci and my fellow colleague Tariq Osman and Ala Hashim and the honorable dignitaries on the dais, as well as our dear colleagues, the audience, who will bear it with us to identify the way forward for our very important ties and relations. Allow me also to recognize the presence of the Indian Commercial Office and the team of the Indian Embassy, and the many media colleagues whom we have worked hard over the past decades to revive and to bring back the India-Egypt relation to where it belongs. No subject close to my heart than talking about India-Egypt relations. And I was truly taken by the historical analysis and the ties of synergies and commonalities that has been put by Sanjay Gucci, and the futuristic and realistic approach that Professor Saran has described, which I personally will benefit a lot from, being also the chairman of the India-Egypt Partnership and Friendship Society. Having said that, I have to say that we worked hard over the years, from Amr Musa to Nabil Al-Arabi to myself and many others, colleagues, to keep these relations as the voice of the third world, as a voice of the interdependence that will allow both of us benefit from each other. From the historical background and the futuristic approach, I don't want really to go far from the bilateral ties, because I want to make benefit of the many heads and minds of the economic, strategic leaders who are here with us today. For that, I should thank Dr. Abla for allowing such an exchange. I remember when I was preparing for a very important visit of late President Mubarak to India, that I crafted many agreements and I put it on the table. Among the very different agreement was a space technology memorandum of understanding where Egypt and India in 2009 will work together in the space technology. I remember very well Pratibha Patel, President of India at that time, told our president that this very particular memorandum is a show that we have not only think about our investment, our trade, though important, but Pratibha Patel said, but this document shows that we have a future together, a future where Egypt and India can truly talk about many aspects of cooperation. Our trade, which is now on the 6.26, as I recall the latest number, is important. Our investment is growing by, I think, a reasonable base, but we still can think a lot about the future. I remember the Egyptian Minister of Trade and Industry coming to visit India. I tried with all my communication. I was all over the place to collect projects so that our investment part of the presidential visit becomes very strong. I collected around 33 million US dollar value of projects. At that time, at the beginning of the visit, I presented it to the Minister of Trade and Industry, who told me, Ambassador, this is a wish list. This is a wish list. 33 billion US dollar at that time, 2009, was a huge amount of money, or a huge amount of Indian expected investments in Egypt, because most of them were energy consuming projects. Tata Steel, aluminium, plastics, and many other projects that is energy consuming projects. At that time, Egypt didn't have the potential of renewable, the potential of natural gas it has today. So when Dr. Abla referred to the uh, north west or west of the Suez Canal industrial zone, I was really happy to reconsider my suggestion that if Indian companies thought of those same projects in Egypt today, maybe we can compensate the energy requirements and introduce the green hydrogen, the renewable, and the many projects that can be done in my country. So the Suez Canal economic zone is an important place where India can install, as Russian did, as the Chinese in Teda have built. So I invite the commercial office definitely and the investors from India to consider these very important projects where you will have a country of a very important population, and you have also a country with contractual relations with Europe, with the United States, with the Arab region, where Egypt can really be, as Dr. Abla put it, your gate to Africa. Going further into our bilateral relations, I think we agree with Dr. Saran that the strategic situation is so colliding and so complicated, where geography, ideas, climate are interacting. But back again in this confusing or world in disarray, what can we, India, Egypt, can do together? Of course, Dr. Saran map and agenda is so important. Multilateralism is important. But let me bring you back from the global disarray image that has been described to the bilateral ties between us. Two very important regional powers: Egypt in the Middle East and the Arab world and Africa, and India in Asia, and its global also, what can we say, policies that has brought back to the world community what it means to protect our third world national interest. G20, India was one of those very important examples. So if I thought about this world of disarray, I remember that India, a regional power, and Egypt has a very important area of interest, not only in Africa or in the Arab world, but also in the Gulf region. India policy, and let us be very clear, that we in Egypt feel that India over the past decades has given their relations with the Gulf countries more interest than what was in the Middle East, thanks to the late visits of Prime Minister Modi and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to each other, that we created this commonality of understanding. The stabilization of the Gulf region and the Red Sea, particularly today, is very important common denominator to India-Egypt relations. And without being polarized, working as India foreign policy into the Gulf region, let us work together, because stabilizing the Gulf, stabilizing the Red Sea are the core of our strategic alliance. Third element is related to terrorism. We have came also from very far. Both countries have conducted a very important battle to gain on terrorism. And we have exchanged, we have made visits, we have cooperated in the field. We came to understand also India national interest and need to combat terrorism. But we need India also to understand that your policies over the past decades have departed from the traditional affinity to certain questions and ideas that we in the Arab world are built to believe in, like the Palestinian question. In a framework where our relations has to be rephrased, re-enhanced, rethinking of the future on your agenda, as we have come closer in issues like terrorism, strategic military cooperation, being it armed forces or navy, we have done that. But we need India to come closer also to the previous antes and to the historical position of India to the Palestinian issue. Lacking of doing that, we are not losing on the political arena, which I think we are very much together in many issues, and we can see eye to eye. But in this very particular issue, you will not see it eye to eye with Egypt only. You will see it too with the 500 million Arabs, Muslim and Christians living in this region. So this is to address the real issues. Why? Because we value the relations with India, and we don't want it to be identical to us, but we want it also this to understand our core issues where the heart of the Arab world lies. Back again to our strategic cooperation. I said naval, I said armed forces, and that shows you that we both have understood the importance of our geographical positioning. We are not colliding, we are integrating our relations. Egypt, as I said, is an important market. I don't know whether Dr. Abla will take you to visit the new capital. We talked about museums, but go to visit the new capital, see the determination and the will of this nation on reshaping the desert and to reshape the future as well. I'll stop here because I know Tariq and Adel has a lot to, Ala has a lot to say and comment, but I want to bring you closer to how a veteran diplomat who loves India and serves his country is commenting on. Thank you very much.